What up? What up? What up? It is the Shark Cove. This is a mega edition. It's a super week edition, and we've got a great group of guests, lots of topics, all the leagues, everything that you could hope for. First and foremost, making his return, your reigning LCS comeback champion, your reigning 333 triumphant warrior champion, and a member of the squad that had over 100 kills in an ARAM, over an hour played. We've got Mr. Moose. How you doing, Moose? How you doing?
Leon is the best.
I think that we broke it's an ARAM. They're looking at it. It's like an hour. They're like, this doesn't make sense, and they're just not uploading it into my game history. I've been waiting every day, all day to take a look at it and examine it. That was a thing of beauty. I hope to do it again soon.
Let's do it. Let's do it again. We got a lot to talk about, so let's bring in this other guy. I'm excited to have him because, like me and him are double twin tourney winners from yesterday. So definitely want to learn a thing or two from this guy.
Yes, and from that you might say, who binks a lot of tournaments? Is it Cody Babin? No, it's not. We don't have him on yet. He will be, but we've got the man that you see at the top all the time, and part of it is because he makes good lineups, and part of it is because he does some game stacks. We're going to figure out how we can maybe take some of that information and stack some games ourselves to stack some cash. We've got Mbelman. I know how to say his name now. Hey, welcome in.
I am so pumped to be here. I make videos every day for my website. I made an NBA video today, an NBA video yesterday. The whole time I'm thinking I just couldn't wait to be on here. I mentioned it multiple times. This is like the highlight of my week. I love LOL so much. I love your videos. I'm so hyped to be on here. Talking to recent GOAT over here in Moose, who is just taking down every tournament these days. After that straight up hype that you brought him in on, I feel like I need to sig off the bat because – man, that's just he's on fire right now. And that comeback lineup, is solid.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
These small people contests when you get chalk BLG.
Yeah, I was pretty upset by the way that everything kind of worked out because not only did the last game my LNG lineups, because I had a couple of them like in the top 40 that were like making their climbs. They were getting there. Had LNG won, I think in the main, I probably had a shot. Now, on the contrary, I had a lot of Weibo lineups. I had Weibo and Cash, and neither of those teams got where they needed to with that last game. It was like a nut low spot for me. I needed either LNG to win or Weibo to actually do something that wasn't like a split push. The shy just pushes your shit in. It was just a nut low for me.
Same. Because LSB team was so much better than we team. I've noticed, a lot, even because I do game stack a lot. I've noticed that a lot of these game threes, these teams play slower. The game threes are often the ones that really hurt the game stack because the teams are in a 1-1 already. They're not trying to lose.
Sure. Yeah, and I think in that particular one, you had two teams that have no problem with playing it slow.
Sure.
Okay, so at some point I may have to change out my headphones because apparently they just told me it was low battery and it was kind of weird and I got a little scared. I was like, "Who's talking to me?" Anyway, so hey, look, we've got a
slate to talk out this slate tonight. Sorry to talk over you, but I'm hyped over here.
It's okay. It's all right. Hey, we've got a lot. We've got two other guests. They're not in the backstage area. One of them is tending to his dogs to try and get away from it. So that's a little teaser. We know who that is. That's going to be Nathan. And then we've got another guest. We've got your best ball partner in crime. Harby should be joining us at some point. He told me he has absolutely nothing to contribute for LPL LCK. So that's okay. Let's try and get through that in the meantime. Actually, I'm going to just go ahead and switch this right now real quick. So give me a second here.
So I just want to ask you, Moose, real quick.
All right.
Turn off Discord if you got Discord in the background.
Moose, I want to ask you real quick if you can hear me about your LSP line last night. Because
talk to me, yeah.
I was on HLE in the 333, not because I loved HLE because I think they suck, but because I thought a lot of people would be on LSB because you could fit them with PLG and no one would be on HLE. And I love fading chalky dogs. So what was your reason to going with LSB? Just the fact that you thought they would win. That's it.
No, I'll give you my my reasoning. So basically, the way I make lineups is, especially depends on how many entries we get really in the 3-3-3. So if we
Sure.
get 1 entry, we get 2 entry, we get 3 entry. My strategy kind of changes a little bit, but I kind of look at the slate as a whole, and I think to myself, like, where can I find my leverage? And that's really where I start. So I started first with knowing that I had to get a piece of the BLGWE game, and I knew right away that if that was the game I was going to target, then a different game going away from that game, like we talked yesterday, would be a game that doesn't include a team from the WBLG
That was your
class,
leverage spot.
and that was my spot where I would have to pick my sides.
You
So
could use any other teams basically because you weren't using BLG.
right, so uh, my favorite play of the night was actually WE because as I
Well, I
mentioned
know
in
you said that last night. You didn't think they would win, but if they won, they would smash. And that's
oh
the
yeah,
case with a lot of big dogs
I
like that.
love that.
They didn't even
Yeah.
win and they smashed.
Yeah, it was a really weird slate where the losing team does that, but it was because the reason why is because I think BLG is really good at bringing out the best in teams, no matter how bad they are, and I really don't know why. Like they just piss
I don't
people
think
off and they make
WE
them want to
is
play.
that bad. I don't think they're as bad as the bottom tier teams.
Yeah, I mean they've had a rough start.
They
They've
might
had
have
a
looked
rough start.
so far, but I think Beishong is legit. Shanks is legit. Who knows about Stay? Kadaya sucks. I think Bubu is fine. I know he was awful at the beginning of the year, but the past couple splits he hasn't been like the worst top
Well,
laner like
he
that.
also he also played on BLG, so he kind of had something to prove.
Fair enough. And again, I will be the
Uh,
first to admit, and I know Nathan talks about this a lot. I know nothing about actual LOL. I've never played LOL. I don't really understand gameplay. I just love it for DFS, and I'm
yeah,
the first to
DFS.
admit that. And I
Do
think
you
that
watch
helps
it?
me for DFS.
You watch it, right? So if you
Oh,
watch it,
I watch it every
I
night.
think watching it is cooler than playing it, honestly. So for me, it's like it's enjoyable.
I
There's
mean,
a
I
lot of
watch
hype.
it every night.
There's a lot of hype about playing it, but watching it for me is really where my boomer kicks in, and
For sure.
the one of the leverage spots that I wanted to have yesterday was I wanted to fit 4 BLG in a lineup because it was really difficult to do that.
Right.
And I wasn't able to do that with LNG. So I did that with WBG, which left LNG being the one out. When I decided to pair LNG, I tried HLE stacks first because I was thinking that same as you that HLE would have leverage,
Too
but
expensive.
too expensive and difficult without the carry.
Sure.
So I figured that since it was a kind of a coin flip match per se, and it's so much easier to fit LSB, I decided to just target the players in LSB that I thought people wouldn't have, and especially when you look at the LSB's lineup, Dove performs really well in wins in a GPP setting. If LSB wins and they're the GPP favorites to win, then Dove does give you that 80-point game.
That's all you
So
care about. You don't care about when he's mediocre in losses because they're not winning anyways.
well, yeah, you're playing the GPP. You're trying to get his ceiling. So yesterday we got Dove's ceiling, and I knew for sure that based on his prior performance, Dove was definitely not going to be the play. And I knew that I just needed 70 points or so from him to really make it into the top 10 or so of the lineups. And if he gave me what he gave me last night, I would be able to cash. Now, on top of that, I also needed LNG to perform, but that's beyond the point. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. I can
Yeah,
show you.
you've got to fight over that grump. The second clear, like that's totally where you stake your flag. Like, man, there were a lot of fights in that game that were super frustrating. Especially as somebody that I didn't realize how much how live I was, at least in the main with my LNG lineups, because I didn't play a bunch of LNG, but I did have some. But I guess like a 30 kill game will liven you up after like a 20-point loss or a 20 kill loss or something like that. But
Did you not think, Moose, real quick, did you not think there was enough leverage in the lower owned LSB? Because they were much lower owned than I thought they would be. Like, why did you not stack 4 BLG with 2 LSB?
I didn't like Doggo last night.
Okay. So,
That was
and
it.
I know you said at the beginning you wanted to get away from the BLG because you knew that people would be using BLG.
Yeah, that and I when looking at the stacks and stuff like that, I felt like when I love maximizing salaries and I love being able to use salaries like for BLG stacks and LSB being where they were. I wasn't going to be able to maximize my salary, but more so, I was also, when I looked at um, Angel, Fofo, and Doggo, I noticed that out of all their ceilings, Doggo somehow had the lowest, and it was just really surprising to me. So when I saw that, it was really difficult for me to build the lineup. It was really easy for me to build a lineup with Angel and Fofo, which is why I chose them for my BLG stack.
I really do agree with Emmerich, though, yesterday on his point. Like, people will always find a way to pay the favorites unless they're like facing a real popular dog and the line has moved. When you have these big favorites, because most people, especially just novices, look at it as an automatic win. And in most sports, minus 700 favorites are automatic wins, not in the LPL.
I mean, they're pretty close to it, but I mean, yeah, still, I mean, what you end up getting from a leverage standpoint, and the minus 700 favorite in the win doesn't guarantee you a high score. That's the reality. In other sports, you're probably a minus 700 favorite. Like, I guess in basketball, your concern is are your guys going to play in the fourth quarter? There's really no concern in hockey if you have a favorite.
You don't even get minus 700 favorites.
Sure. Yeah, because it doesn't work like that. And truthfully, you probably shouldn't have 700 favorites here. It's just a matter of probably where they have to set the lines to.
Right, the lines are soft.
Yeah. But yeah, so let's hop right into it. I mean, look, I thought Sandbox was a smash play. My projections were almost spot on. They obviously knew exactly what I thought they were going to do. I thought HLE was trash. I said it. I'm surprised at how many people thought they were good or wanted to play them. But, nevertheless.
They weren't high owned either. I will say that. Like, they were both low owned.
Yeah, I just meant more like it's the LCK thing. And look, we even had a discussion. It was Prodigy it wasn't a discussion. It was just a comment that he made. He said, I usually cross out the LCK teams. And, I just don't understand.
I used to do that.
What we need to do to tell people, especially given this last week and a half, that you just don't do that. Now, this first game, I think you could potentially cross one of these guys out. I don't know what you guys think, but we've got Gen G, a minus 400 favorite. A favorite of people that love to play favorites is Gen G. They love to play Ruler. They love to play Chovy. This team should absolutely crush. Now, look, we've got NS Red Force, who has been in shambles, absolute shambles for the better part of recent memory, with COVID situations, swapping out supports, ghost playing support. I don't understand why Fantasy Labs has all these COVID replacements, but for some reason can't put Weibo into the player pool. Nevertheless, to start off this game, I feel like Gen G's in an okay spot. They're not like the most expensive on the slate, but they are up there. I don't necessarily have this projected as a super high scoring matchup. Now, certainly we can get a ceiling game out of either of these teams. I don't have a problem with Gen G. I don't think that they're a primary target for me. I actually have little to no interest in Red Force. I just have a lot of concerns with this team. And look, I might be wrong. You guys might feel differently. Moose, why don't you go ahead and tell me what you think and tell me why I should be playing BDD and his abysmal peripheral stats.
I don't.
Okay.
There's nothing I can do to defend Red Force on this spot. Other than the fact that the leverage here is that, nobody's on them. But yeah, I don't think plus 275 is high enough, really. I mean, if maybe NS is the fourth best team in the LCK, but they're coming off, not a great match, and I don't really see anything there I like about them.
Mbelman, what do you have to say about Red Force?
So here, just an overall point before I even get into this game. I feel like there's so much overreaction in LOL DFS. Like, for the past couple years, no one has wanted to play the LCK at all. And people now, it even got further than that. They'd rather play LPL dogs than LCK favorites. And that's just what it is. So LCK has become the leverage spot because people don't want to play LCK. A couple years ago, after COVID, people were jamming in the LCK favorites. Now, I also think that has to do with like how close the LCK is. The LCK favorites, besides Gen G and T1, like, can lose on any given day because the league has so much parity. In this matchup, I'd be surprised if Gen G doesn't roll. I think they'll probably be over-owned because the matchup is easy. It's the early game. Gen G is a team people like to roster. I have no problem with them, but I don't think that they're my team of choice tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing when people are looking at stats and they're making the decision, I don't know how many people actually go and look at money lines. I'm sure that there's a large amount of people. I never did, honestly. But I mean, obviously I do because of the show. But prior to this, unless I was building a cash lineup, and I didn't always build a cash lineup. John's video told me who was the favorite, who wasn't. But like, I think when people look at these stats and they're trying to decide, I think that, people are kind of privy to the fact that like kills per win, deaths per loss are things that you want to look for. And when it comes to that, neither of these teams are going to pop out. Even the teams that we'll talk about in the later LCK game, they don't necessarily pop out either. But what some of these teams do have, and it's something that LSB has, HLE does not, but Sandbox did, is the kill participation amongst a condensed, it doesn't have to be all of them, but at least the carries.
A bunch.
Yeah.
Because of the LCK, because of their team fights.
Sure. And it's no different than, like TSM last year. And I've said this before, is that, they only profiled to score like 12 to 14. Now that's volatile because if they get 9 or 10, and they had a couple of those wins, you weren't going to get there. You needed at least the 14. You needed that kind of, they need to get to the median to even be relevant, but that's why you can go to these, but you don't have to look at them as a large stack. And you can roster some of these ADCs that have 40% kill shares, and it's a big enough sample at this point that we can take a look at it. Now, if you're looking at LCS numbers right now, they're barely large enough to make any type of assumptions. But at this point, we've seen teams win enough, like Kwangdong, Red Force, Gen G, to feel pretty confident in their numbers, the play style that they're going to have. And if somebody does pop out like that and have 70 plus kill participation, and you get 2 of those guys, that's all you need, because then you can get the team slot too, or you can one off the team slot. And that's a spot to go to. But when it comes to these 2 teams, their kills per win, their deaths per loss, the way that they project out, everything matches up. This has 16 kill win on both sides of this written everywhere. And I will tell you that neither of these teams really pop out with a 16 kill win. You're going to need 18, 19, and 20 to find some standouts. And that's why I'm kind of off of this. I do wonder, do we go back to Teddy? Mbelman, you go first here. I mean, Kwangdong is a plus 215. You could always go, and Cody's going to love this, you could go to Kin, that's how I'm going to say it, okay? You could go to him, but he's not my favorite other part of there. The other dude that's been balling out with Teddy is Hoyt. And are we going back to Kwangdong, or are we scared of the slow pace that Damwon sometimes brings to these games?
You going to me first?
Yeah.
So here's, like, my overall thing with the LCK. Like, I don't think they're great plays, and even going back to the first game. But at low ownership, I'm looking for outlier results. That's all I'm looking for to take down a GPP. And we know Gen G can have monster games. They just did it in Map 2 last game. If you're telling me that Gen G, like the last slate, when I know Moose, you brought it up, they were hella expensive and they were very, very low owned. If that were the case here, I'd like them. That's not the case here. I think they're chalky, and I don't think they're worth that chalk. As far as the next game goes, Damwon has killed me recently. I hate going against teams that I've been on, so I really don't want to go to KDF. I'd probably just stay away from this game and hope you're right, and that the kill totals are low. It's a 2-1 series. Neither team, goes off in the loss, and that's kind of what I expect.
Yeah, some of us have these teams that we're either right on or wrong all the time on.
Right.
Maybe it's to a fault. Baby Goat, he's wrong on just about everybody that he plays. Once in a while, he gets somebody. But Damwon is a team that he's been wrong on all year. And look, I get it. I feel it, because I was that guy last year. I played Damwon all the time, just chasing the ghosts of 2020. We've got a guy that will play ghosts in every single slate in Peter Googs. And despite everything that we teach him, he still does 3-2-1-1s and that type of stuff. But
Here's
that's
my
okay.
thing about Damwon, and I want to ask you guys, because you guys know so much more about League of Legends actual game than I do. Like, Damwon obviously had an amazing 2020 summer split, one of the best ever. They still have Showmaker and Canyon, two of the best players and two of the top 10 players in the world, maybe. But they look a lot like TES right now, where they have two studs and the rest meh. And the other guys on their team just aren't very good.
I mean, I think their bottom lane's fine, but you are seeing, like, it's a different meta. It's a different way to play. And these guys are probably a little bit burned out. It's hard to be on the top for that long.
Am I overrating Showmaker and Canyon?
What's that?
Am I overrating Showmaker and Canyon?
No, I think they're both very good. I just don't think that, the coach. Okay, so their coaching style, too, is not one that wants them to go out and skirmish. They're more macro oriented, and they're happy to play that way. What I will say is I don't think that this game, given that it's a 5-game slate and we have 3 LPL games that we can choose from.
Right.
Moose, how many people outside of myself do you think will have Teddy either in his ADC slot or in that captain? I think I might be the only person that's going to have a captain Teddy tonight.
Yeah.
Even with those numbers.
You are going to be the only person that has that. But realistically, I think we're at the point where Damwon is really playing to their competition, and they're constantly giving up matches and rounds. And I don't think it's going to take much to beat them. And if Kwangdong do have it figured out a little bit, I like the way they draft. I like the way they win games, and I think the team's really coming together, which I never thought I'd say this year because I really don't like them. But I still have some, I still have some quorums to pick with their top lane, their jungler, but I really.
Who's their top lane? Who's their top laner?
It's pronounced. How's it pronounced? It's pronounced. Let me do it right. Keen.
Yeah, whatever.
Keen.
Whatever.
It's pronounced Keen. I think Elam's just bad, and that really makes the team bad. But
I think Birdall's bad though. That's the problem. Like, Cody just put it in the chat. I put it up there. That has been Damwon's problem. Their bottom lane is fine. I think their bottom lane is arguably better than what it was last year. But people just discredited Khan or not discredited him, just didn't give him credit for how well he played.
What about the point of that? Like, yeah, maybe Diakdom and Kellen are better than Ghost and Barrel, but they had synergy. Ghost and Barrel, you want to play with Showmaker and Cannon, I feel like.
Yeah, they're not better. But also, Damwon was playing better in a different meta. Not only that, but if Damwon ends the season and they go and get Nuguri back for
that's
next
what
year,
the rumor is.
That will be Damwon again. I think you need Nuguri, Canyon, and Showmaker to really make that team shine. And you need Showmaker to be involved in the game. He's not involved in the game right now. And I think like macro wise, like they're worse than KDF still. I mean, they're better than KDF. Like the odds are probably correct, but overall, like this is definitely a spot where you take a shot on KDF and you hope that that Keen and even Fate has been playing really well. Put a good performance for you. I could even see a KDF 4-stack really. And if you can get that from them, so like
Noah Lim, right? Noah Lim.
There will be
Noah Lim.
They're really just no LM. Then you'll be fine. But until then, I think this is a really interesting spot because you need KDF to do their style of gameplay to be able to perform. And I don't know if Damwon will let them because Damwon is just so allergic to fighting.
Yeah, and the problem isn't so much that, like, if this was a best of one, obviously it's a lot easier to get those, performances because you just need to get one. But we even saw, like, with T1, when they played them, they had like just one of the crazier games that I can remember Damwon playing, at least this season, probably dating back to when they played Gen G. And I'm just watching that. I'm like, we're at 12 minutes and we've got like 20 kills. This shit's gonna like no tower is down. This is gonna be bonkers. And then from there out, like after that game, it slowed down. I mean,
are you talking about the first time they played?
No, when they played like 2 days ago.
Because I was gonna say I watched that game and I know that I don't know the ins and outs of League of Legends, but besides that, the like throw from Gen G or T1, excuse me, like in the second game. They got smoked in that game. Like
Mhm.
They just got rolled on, and I was pretty depressed. I was. They got taken down a notch for me after that game. I know T1 is like legit, but so is Damwon, and they got smoked.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the T1's in kind of almost a class of their own. I think T1 and Gen G are just above everybody else, and Damwon can come and they can play and they can beat anybody, and they probably beat Guangdong tonight. But look, if you were crossing teams out, and I know you're not because you're chasing them, you're pot committed at this point. Damwon and Red Force are two teams that I have very little interest in 3 maxed smaller tournaments. Certainly going to have some in that, the $5, $10. We've got some great GPPs out there, 2K to first all over the place. I don't know if they're filled. Same thing with the LEC. If you haven't, take a minute, go ahead and go reserve those. But I want to kind of wrap up the LCK here. We've been going to the LCK religiously for the last week or so. And it has been paying off. We have been getting the cookies, Moose. Like you said yesterday, bro, like I want a cookie, but I don't want to put my hand in the cookie jar. But you did. You went into the cookie jar and bro, you went for like the smallest cookie in the jar that that your wrist doesn't fit in, and like your hand coming out. You had to have the butter on hand because it's not going to come out, but it did. You got away with it. Do you think that you can get away with, or possibly I could get away with another Teddy ceiling performance? I think I'm going to have him in a captain. I will. I'm going to.
So KDF is your favorite LCK team tonight. Who's yours, Moose?
KDF.
Mine's got to be Gen G, and there's a reason why. I like not a big dog, but I like a dog in the LPL. And even though I think that Gen G will be overowned, I think that, and we'll get to it soon, TT is going to be underowned. So we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the thing. No, like I'm not saying anybody has fat hands, but like the way the jars are not made for your hand, like you put your hand in, it comes out, it spreads out. It doesn't work like that. It's like I don't know. Let's talk about the LPL. So here's the problem.
Real quick, I just want to ask you guys just a question about comparing LOL to real sports, because I look at teams like Damwon. I'm much more familiar with real sports. That's what I cover all the time. That's what I'm used to. And I do a lot of comparables. When I look at teams like Damwon, EDG, RNG, the summer split is always more important than spring split. These teams are coming off world finals runs. Damwon lost a heartbreaker. EDG just won it. I feel like in a lot of these series, they're going through the motions. Do you think that's factual at all?
I think in some cases it can be, and just depending on where it is. I mean, one of the things that I'm super excited about, where people do go through the motion and they do historically perform really badly, is coming off of MSI, those first couple games in spring. I mean, we saw it with Cloud9, we saw it with Damwon. Detonation Focus Me in Japan, like that is a spot. Like if they're the MSI, like they lost 4 games to start the split and then won the rest of them. So I do think that there is something to that. And I don't know if KDF is a game that you get up for if you're Damwon, but they do need these wins because they are
I expect
not,
them to play well after that loss to T1. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. I think Guangdong's just the hot hand.
Do you think that might be the better team than Damwon right now, or do you just like them as a dog?
I just like them as a dog, and it's a hot hand. I mean, like
fair enough.
All right, joining us to talk the LPL. I know. Have nothing to add to it. But it's Mbelman's best ball partner, the tandem. We've got one Harby.
My guy.
What's up? Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's going on? Welcome to the Cove. Thank you for coming.
I miss that pretty face over there.
Hey, it's awesome to be in a chat with a bunch of goats here, shipping everything.
Not me. I'm just trying to, go through it and find a way. Where there's a will, life finds a way. I've said it. And, one last thing about the LCK. When it came to the last time that Gen G was on the slate, Gen G was the most expensive. They were going through the COVID situation. We didn't know who was going to play. I think that people will play Gen G, and that's
agreed.
I think people are going to stay away from KDF, especially because you have 3 LPL games. the only reason I think people will go to Gen G especially is because these games are not that clear cut. Let's talk about this first one where you feel like TT is going to be under-owned playing LGD, who this is going to be one of those that you want to. I hope Gelati goes to bed early tonight, because I cannot imagine him having to watch this game with how much he wants to see good quality, clean League of Legends played. And that's not going to happen with TT, and that's not going to happen with LGD. We're going to see throws. We're going to see teams not knowing what they're doing. We're going to see teams farming, but we're going to see teams farming each other. I think TT is played quite a bit, and I think LGD has played quite a bit. Tell me why you think TT, aside from their abysmal record, their inability to do anything fantasy-wise, and just overall being shitty, is going to be under-owned today. Is there something more to it?
Yeah, projections have them being under-owned, which obviously is just projections, but I take that with, at least as something. It's not everything, but it's not nothing. It's something. The pricing is so close that, I think people will go to the 150 favorite. TT has looked not good, as we know, but I think LGD is just straight cheeks. I think they're awful. I don't see them being 150 favorites here. I think that they're going to be higher owned. I think TT wins this game, so it's not even about them being a dog. This is just the spot that TT gets their win. They're fiending for a win with Chieftain and UCal in their lineup. I think this is the spot they get it done. There's no better spot than this. I will go down with TT tonight.
Okay. Moose, TT, +1.5, -260 to win, +115. Or are you on the other side of this? Do you think Eric and Jay, or Jay and Eric, team up with Shadow and bring a win to this beleaguered LGD team?
Are we allowed to cuss on this show?
Yeah.
All right. Man, this is a rough matchup. This one's so bad. But I'm gonna put it this way, guys. Jay, yeah, he fucks, and that's it. That's it. That's all I gotta say.
He fucks and then he eats. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, he eats all right. But
I mean, look, does Jay really fuck? Like, he fucked one game, man. Like, he had a monster Rise game. Rise is like one of the most Rise in the East is like the Jace in the East. You put Rise in like the LCS and Rise looks like shit. You put Rise on perks and he's dying in side lanes. So I don't know, man. Like, I think that this is to steal a philosophy, a phrase from another site, one that you have to pay for. I think this is a hedge life game, man. I think you take a little bit on both sides. I think, and I know this actually. I know, -500 says, Mbelman, you're going to have some game stacks of this one.
So I probably will, because I game stack a lot. But here's
it's the first game. You have to game stack the first game.
I usually like game stack in the last game, but
okay.
My biggest problem with this game and why I might just stay away from it is the general consensus when you see two bad teams play, and in a lot of sports this holds true, is that you want the over. Neither team knows how to win. There's going to be fights at the end. There are going to be throws, et cetera, et cetera. But there's also, and we see this a lot too, especially in LOL, these teams have each only won one series all year. This is a spot for them to get a win. They might play very conservative, not try to push the tempo, and not try to be the ones that loses the game. I could see, a TT 15-6 win, then an LGD 17-8 win, and neither team is optimal.
Yeah, look, here's the biggest concern that I have. If you go back to Sloppy Saturday and you watch the last hour and a half, 2 hours after all the discussion of tripping and all the good stuff that happened. I have some more stories. Maybe we'll do another Sloppy Saturday. Man, TT should have wiped the floor with RA. They completely outdrafted it. So that does give me some, it gives me some optimism about TT in this series. But it also scares me because they so much more optimally drafted than their competition and got stomped in the second game. I was asleep for the third, I think. I don't even think I paid attention to that one. But LGD is not RA. LGD is...
It's a play against LGD also. I think LGD is much higher owned, and they should not be. TT it's just as good a team as LGD. That throw against RA was just, I mean, as bad as the HLE throw today. LGD sucks. They're one of the worst teams I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't understand how Shadow still has a job, but I mean, like we can't get Bo on the like Bo can't get a job, man,
right? I mean, come on, Bo.
Just a little match fixing scandal.
He did a little match fixing, yeah.
Right.
So just so you know, before like Bo from FPX and what was his name? Way Out from Rogue Warriors, which is now anyone's legend, were caught for match fixing several times. I mean, they're fully banned. So
freaking Shadow.
No, Bo is not banned. Bo can play, just no team will play.
Shadow's max fixing unintentionally. He sucks so bad.
I mean, he's a European import. I think it's like one of the only times a European import just came into China to play. So like, and
I thought there was a lot of hype around him that he was going to be like really good.
Yeah, but he's on LGD.
Okay, so would he be good on a good team?
Not an LPL. Maybe in the LEC.
Yeah, he'd have to go back there. Let's kind of get through these last two games. Harby, I know I'm not calling on you. Feel free to jump in. I know you said you didn't have a ton on these, so I'm not trying to put you on the spot. But we've got we're going to jump over the one. We're going to go to FPX and Rare Atom. This is a game that I think is, of all the games that we're talking about, actually presents one of the best spots for leverage on the entire slate. And maybe I'm wrong. I think that there is still this belief, and it's a rightful belief, that FPX is good despite their record. Maybe people don't believe that because of their record, but they've had a pretty tough run of games, and they've played teams well. I think that they're a good team. Obviously, they're not happy with the way that they've been playing with Clid, and they're going to Beishan. RA seems to have found something, even if it was against really bad teams. They've become a lot more of a sloppy team. That's why they were on Sloppy Saturday, as a matter of fact. Plus 175 here, Moose. Do we have iBoy Teddy as the combo that's taking down the 333 today?
No. It's not happening. Look, if you remember Sloppy Saturday, you remember Rare Atom.
I don't remember much of it, actually.
You remember Rare Atom playing the worst game I've ever seen, then proceeding to somehow beat RNG in a 2-0 match. I think Rare Atom is like this really weird team, or I mean I can also blame RNG just being a random number generator, like the team that they are. And I think in this spot, you have to, if you just look at the averages of these teams, the average FPX team, in my opinion, always beats the RA team the way they are now. So RA is bad, FPX is half bad, so I will stick with FPX.
Yeah, I mean, and Go brings up a good point. Like, you look at FPX and who they've lost to. Like I said, they've had a kind of a murderer's row of schedule. They have lost to EDG, they lost to JDG, they lost to LMG, they lost to TES, and then WBG. Like, if there is a G in your lineup, or in your name, you probably can beat FPX, but Rare Atom doesn't have it. Is that something that you take into account when you're building your lineup, that this team has a problem beating teams that have Gs, and they're just not Gs? They're not gangsters.
No, I think FPX has had a significant. I mean, if you think about it, they're kind of like the Freak of Freaks of last year, right? They're just gonna lose to better teams, and they're gonna play well against worse teams. They still play up to competition. They still played EDG well, in my opinion. The TS loss was a big surprise to me, but that's top esports. You're gonna get that. So I think at this spot, you just kind of hold your breath and expect FPX to do what they need to do. I just don't know exactly what kind of scoring I'm expecting against Rare Atom unless they do what they did with TT a week ago.
So the big thing with FPX for me, though, is, I just listed off who they lost to, and we probably all agree that those are good teams. We're not necessarily sure how good JDG is, or really who TES is, but we both understand that there's talent on both of those teams. They are kind of like the top tier of the league. However, when it comes to teams that they've beaten, we've got Up. Okay, we've got RNG. First series was pretty close. We'll give that one a little bit of a pass. We've got LGD, who we've already talked about as trash, and Anyone's Legend. They haven't really beat anybody aside from that RNG series to start off the day, or start off the year. Like, they haven't played the medium teams. They played the upper tier, the bottom tier. This is going to be their first test. Mbelman, what are you thinking?
When you say this is going to be their first test, you're talking about
medium test. Like, no, FPX's first medium test. Like, we know that they're probably going to lose to the top tier. We know that they're going to beat the bottom team. What's that?
Is RA medium now because they beat RNG?
Well, they're 4-5. FPX is 4-5. Like, I think RA is better than like Up. I think they're better than TT. I think they're better than LGD. I don't think that they're a great team. I think they're in that medium tier. Like, every team can't be good or bad. We've got to get it's medium tiers, you know?
Well, I think Up is significantly better than TT and LGD. I think that Up is on they just beat OMG. I think that they're right on the Rare Atom level. I'm not really buying what Rare Atom sold last game. And I also think that people are going to be on Rare Atom. I think both teams in this game are over-owned because I think people feel strongly one way or the other. I don't feel strongly one way or the other. I do think FPX is the better team, so I lean there. I do think that they're going to be much higher owned, though. So coming off a big win against RNG, it's hard not to like Rare Atom. A thing for me, though, and this is just betting for years, playing DFS for years, I was on RNG big last night. They were the only team I used, really, and in my other game stacks, I only used RNG team because I thought no way Rare Atom would win and not score a bunch. Well, of course that happened. So I hate like piggybacking and going on Rare Atom here. So I just can't do that to myself. I will probably stay away from this game as it stands right now.
Fair. I do think that this is the lowest owned combined of the two. I mean, at least Rare Atom. I think FPX will be owned, especially in cash. They're probably a little bit more affordable than, a team like JDG Gaming. Kanavi has just been balling out. Kanavi captain.
Right, but
don't want to do it.
Anyone's Legend will be much lower owned than FPX or Rare Atom.
Yeah, I mean, probably, especially in the main. Sometimes when I think of these things, I think of the 3-3-3, and I think that there are enough anyone's Legends aficionados, people that will play them all the time, and just understand that, like, this is the game. Let me ask you this: which game do you think is the better environment? Is it the TT LGD? I think I know your answer based on what you said earlier, or this anyone's Legend JDG Gaming. I've talked about it for the last, 8 or 9 episodes, maybe like 12 or 13, somewhere in there, that there is a game that we always look at, focus on, and say, this is going to be the game that's going to have the nut spot, and it never is, despite the odds. And that's a gambler's fallacy. JDG Anyone's Legend, it feels like the winner coming out of this game is going to be the optimal.
I very rarely, and like you said, most, this game's definitely going to blow up. This game's definitely going to blow up. That's rarely the game I go heavy on the game stack on, just because I'm a contrarian player in nature. I play a lot of dogs, etc. That said, when I'm game stacking, and my main reason for game stacking and why I've done it more this year, the field has been a lot sharper over the past year. You're no longer getting these dogs. It's sub 10% ownership on two game slates like you were right after COVID. I remember the first tournament I won, it was with DMO. Zubin was the ADC. They were like 2% owned on a 2-game slate. You just don't get that anymore. So game stacks, while they're very volatile, and you have to know that going in, it's one of the only ways to like solo bink if you hit, especially the way that I do it. I'm not throwing in like one game stack line. I'm stacking them, basically every way possible. And if it goes off, it goes off. It was close today. Obviously, it takes a ton. I mean, there's no doubt about it, especially in these 3-game series, especially when there's 5 series. I mean, the more series there are, the harder it is to get a game stack. If I had to pick, so there's 2 ways to look at it. One, TT, LGD, close, 2 bad teams. I mentioned before, I think that both teams don't know how to close. I also think that both teams stink and might just play slow. Anyone's Legend JDG is interesting to me because if this game can go 3 games, it's got the biggest spread on the slate. But I think that, like, if Anyone's Legend wins, JDD is going to score a lot. Because it's going to be a 2-1, in my opinion. I don't think they're sweeping JDG. If JDG wins 2-1, I doubt it's possible Anyone's Legend is there, kind of like we today, but that's unlikely. It could happen. And then the last game is intriguing just because it's the closest game of the bunch, so I expect it to go 3. And in order for a game stack to work, you have to have it go 3. I mean, that's why, like, the Billy Wii game stack is ideally what you want, because if that game goes 3 series, the dog is getting a lot of kills in their win. It's just a matter of how many they can get in their losses. And that first loss, it actually worked out good for me that BLG didn't get more kills on the fountain. So there's so many ways to look at it. I try to get exposure to all when I'm doing it. That said, like, I mean, chasing game stacks is like, I don't want to be known as just the game stack guy, because like it is a tough place to be. It's risky. You really have to know what you're doing. It's
Well, you gotta stop winning with it, and like then people won't know you as the game stack guy.
The thing is,
like you're a game stack shark. Like look, if you're losing on it, nobody knows that you're doing it. The only way people are going to know you're doing it is if you're winning. So it's a good thing to be.
Definitely lost a bunch of them. I mean, and when you lose,
I'm aware.
Well, yeah, when you lose with them, I mean, a lot of times you're not cashing at all because one of the teams is awful. When any 2-0, game stack's fucked, and you're usually not cashing. You have to have a 2-1 just to cash. So it's very risky. I like it more on those 2-game LPL slates because people still do it, but they won't do it as much as I do. So I still think there's leverage there. That said, I don't know if there's a game on this slate I really want to game stack except anyone's Legends, JDG. But I kind of feel like JDD just rolls. So that's my feeling.
Yeah, you got to be careful on the show about speaking anything with absolute certainty. Like, I know that this team's going to go 2-0, or I think strongly, because it manifests the other way. Just quite a bit.
I think the game stacking the LGD-TT game is like a really good spot, though, because it feels like a 2-1 either way.
But people are going to do it is the problem. Like, that's the other.
But you're the champion. You just do it better than them.
Yeah, I know. But, like, I don't want to go, like, honestly, if I'm going to go hard on this game stack, that's like that's like 32 lineups in the 15. And, like, I mean.
So when you game stack a particular game, let's say you have, like, what I don't know what the max is today. Let's say it's 90.
It's 90.
Okay. How many do you do for a game? Like, look, I'll game stack. I don't do it so much in the Eastern slates. I'll do it in the LC. I do like 1 or 2. So I can like get 2 access to 2 teams. Like if I get it right, I want to get the winning team. So I'll play a team and then I'll play the other team. So I'm guaranteeing one of them will lose. But I want to at least give myself the access to it.
This is how I make all lineups, game stacks, regular lineups, whatever. I make all the 4 3s possible for each side. And when I'm doing game stacks, like last night, I did not do junglers in the game stacks. I did not think that was worth it with the amount of entries that were in the tournament. I thought mids and ADCs were enough. So that's 16 for each game stack. And, that's 32 total. It's a lot. And that's a lot of times I do 24 each because I'm adding the junglers. And jungler game stack has hit for me before. It's rare. But honestly, if the game stack is hitting and like cashing, the jungler ones will cash too. They won't win usually, but like they will cash too if that team is scoring that high. So yeah, I don't know. There's not really too much like method behind my madness. My boy Honky gives me shit about it every day. Says I'm chasing these game stacks, but you know what? Sometimes they hit. I was close today. It just takes so much. And the other problem is you have to get the winning team right. Like BLG Wii looked good for a minute, but I had HLE team with them, so it was fucked. There was just no chance there.
Harby, I know you've been on for a while. You've been silent. I mean, you can talk about game stacks if you want. I don't want you to kind of just have to kind of sit in the corner while we talk about the Eastern slate.
I'm just over here gushing over Matt. So
That's my boy.
Okay.
No, I used to do game stacks quite frequently. I think we all probably did a little bit with old G2, right? Because it was one way. You always wanted to jam them in for the past few years. It's obviously different now, but it was one way of just being a little bit different. Right. I think that these past 2 or 3 weeks in the LEC, we've seen some teams that could lead us to that. One team that I'm probably way too high on, but we can talk more about it there. But I think it's not as viable, obviously, in LEC, LCS as it is LCK, LPL, especially those 2 game slates like what you're talking about too.
I would say that it's more viable in the best of ones because you just have less that you need to have go right, and you just need the one game. But
that's true. That's true.
Well, true, but I will say, and before this past couple of weeks, I know it's been nutting for you, so I don't want to speak bad about the LCK. I hardly ever play LCK. I've been at a damn one like recently. The LCK, I'm just so used to seeing 8 to 7 games, then maybe a 14-12, and then another 9-8 game. And I'm like, I'm glad I had no part of this. They're always projected to be higher owned, by Osmo top stool stacks, which is something I use a lot.
Am I the only one that's freezing here?
What'd you say?
Yes.
But I don't know. The LCK is certainly recently, like especially watching this show, it's kind of hard to get away from. But part of the reason I was into so much game stacks before on these 4-game slates is that people were using LCK teams, eating up ownership that I didn't think was worth it. So it was like all I really needed was the other LPL game to bust because I didn't think the LCK games had a chance.
Moose, Baby Goat wants to know, do you play Chovy tonight?
I think you play Chovy if you want 80 points because he's going to give you 80.
Sure.
He's the most expensive mid, I think.
Yeah, so people will still try to play him, but he'll get you 80.
So
I just think that you have opportunity to get 80 or more out of Yagao or Jay or even Gory.
all right. So while we wait for Harby to come back, and
Realistical moves over here.
Where's Nathan at?
He apologizes for being late. He should be here soon. I think he has to drive his dogs around to make them tired, or he has to drive around, something along those lines. His girl is taking a test. So, look, when we look at this slate, let's kind of wrap up the LPL LCK. I have an absolutely absurd projection on Betty here. Actually, my projections feel drunk, but I mean, you can look at the projections from yesterday. They were super good, except for DRX. Here he is. He's Nathan. He's got no camera. That's okay. Nathan, how are you?
Doing great, guys. Just finally finished up, helping the girlfriend study for her biochem exam, get the dog situated, ready to go to be quiet during this time for her.
Have you been at least watching the show at least?
I've had it on and off. I saw the quick bit of Mbelman talking about Damwon and how we're looking at summer split and world championships, and that's been more of focused on creating a study guide for her, but it's been
I've been fighting the good fight, Nathan. I've been advocating for the LCK. I've been advocating for the LCK double stacks, big stacks, little stacks, play the LCK. But people in the Discord, people in the world, people on Twitter, they're still hating on the LCK. I was personally attacked by Prodigy's comments that he's just crossing them out, insinuating that it's working for him. It's obviously not, because the people that are winning are playing the LCK. As a fellow advocate of LCK in DFS, how do you feel about all of this besmirching of our beloved league?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I think it's great that people are besmirching the league. I think it's great that people don't want to play them. The more everybody else doesn't want to play them, the more I'm going to want to. And
are you going to play a Teddy captain lineup today in the 333? Are you going to have a Teddy captain?
So
they're playing Damwon?
Yes.
Why not?
I have to ask you guys though: is it because you really think the LCK is better scoring than the LPL, or because other people won't play them? And I know Nathan.
No, so it's
the LCK sucks.
Me,
it just is what it is.
Well,
sorry.
Well, okay. So let's say that let's just take last night's slate for example, right? And if you combine all of the LPL ownerships and then compare it to all the combined LCK ownerships, right? It's like 80-20 or something like that, right?
We talked about how like a year ago, people were much more prone to play any LPL dogs. And now like they're just more willing to play LCK favorites, I feel like. I don't know. I feel like the owner discrepancy used to be even worse.
It definitely did because a large majority of the that change is due to the field becoming one sharper.
And I was going to ask you guys this, like, how much of an impact on the field is the TTSD Discord? Like, how much of the field is in there?
Is
too much?
Because this field for LOL is small. It's like the same guy.
The answer is definitely too much.
the biggest tournament is 3,000 people. I mean, that's like a
So
third
it's definitely a big part.
NBA contest on any given night.
Well, Nathan, let's let Nathan finish up here. So it's that percentage of people playing the LCK and the dismissal of those 20% outcomes that you're looking for, because 20% happens 1 out of 5 times, but people act like it happens 1 out of 100 times.
No.
What do you mean no?
I think they use them more than that. I think they act like it happens like 1 out of 20 times, and you think it happens like 1 out of 50. Like, I think you think it happens much more than it actually happens, but maybe I'm completely wrong on that.
No, so what happens is this, and why it's advantageous to play the LCK. You can play the LCK dogs, and you can play them in a small stack, and it can give you access to teams that and stacks and building lineup construction that other people aren't going to have, because they're going to find a way to play 2 favorites. They're going to find a way to play 2 LPL favorites,
Sorry
or an
about that,
LPL
guys.
dog,
That was,
or something like that.
A little interesting from the call/dogs barking.
Yeah,
Hopefully
but that's no problem.
You guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We didn't hear any of the dogs or anything like that.
I
But
can hear you. One second. I'm going to restart.
Okay. Anyway, but it's just like you're building your lineup in different ways than other people at times. You're just getting access to different construction, and you don't have to full stack it. I mean, we can sit here and say that people are going to play the LCK, but they're just not. They're not going to play the LCK, and they're not going to play LCK dogs. They're going to play your Gen Gs. They're going to play the T1s, and Elliot and you are going to play Damwon. It's going to happen.
You're right.
But
the other games are too close, and I will say, like, going back to last night, Bro, I thought would be 20%. They were 14%. LSB, I thought was going to be the second highest one on the slate with BLG, because you could fit them for BLG. HLE, I thought would be, little love, but you're right. LNG and Weibo got all the love, even in a split matchup. Like, you'd think that those teams would eat into each other, and like
it's because they're able to be fit with favorite stacks, both of them more so than others. So you get these coin flip LPL matches. People love them because they're cheaper.
Yeah, and people would rather pick a side there because they think if they get the winner there, it will be higher scoring.
Exactly, right? And that's
not always the case.
Yeah, you just the problem is that with the ownership discrepancy is that the top stack of the night is not going to be more than like 80% chance of being LPL. Granted, today there's three LPL games, so it's more likely, but there's still, that means that LCK is even more under rostered, right? So like people are not using them enough. It's just like every DFS sport, right? There's extremely inefficient ownership all over the place. People don't use dogs enough because they're really risk prone, like anti-risk, and people don't use the LCK because they see these game totals of like 22.5 median or whatever, and they're like, oh, well, that's never outscoring LPL. And then T1 drops like 28 kills, or like Sandbox drops like 22 in a win or something like that,
And I have to go back to a point I made to you earlier that I was mistaken on. People are more prone now to play LPL dogs than LCK favorites, because they realize that, or they think that LCK games don't score, and that if an LPL dog wins, they're going to outscore more than the LCK favorite. So that's why the LCK ownership has been really low. I'm with you guys.
The majority of the time, the LPL dog in a win is going to outscore the LCK. It's just that majority of the time. I mean, but there's still low.
You made a point,
probability outcomes.
Emmerich, you made a point, and I said earlier in the show, when we might have even been before we got on, I was like, the LPL, there's no league where like minus 500, minus 1,000 favorites lose as much as they really do. And you were like, not really, but it might seem that way. For me, it's like, you look at the past couple days, Thursday or Tuesday, 2 dogs win. Then there was the whole thing in Discord. No way 2 dogs can win again. And that has nothing to do with one another, but that's another discussion for a different day. Then 2 dogs win again. People see that, you know what I mean? And it affects how they play the next slates.
Yeah, but okay, like, so here, I'm going to pull something, and if you're not, go sub to Gelati's Patreon, because he gives a macro report And I mean, here, like what it comes down to, favorites in the LPL are 54-16 outright. 54-16. So, and I'm sure he can even break that down. I think he does in some cases, but I'm just pulling that. So these are type of things that you look at here. So the average money line of an underdog in the LPL is plus 301, 20.
I mean,
the actual series win rate is 22% in those situations. So, like, look, there is a divergence from this. Favorites win more often than not. But the thing is, when you're playing 2 or 3, you are looking for that dog, or in the LCK where dogs win more often. Let's wrap up the LPL and LCK here, though. Moose, haven't heard from you in a while. Just want to check in. Who's your favorite play, and who's your favorite fade?
Favorite play tonight, just based on core numbers. Nathan, mute yourself. You got that background noise, buddy. Definitely JDG, and in my opinion, LGD, because LGD have the highest kills per win, JDG second, and both of those teams are like Coors Field, so their opponents are absolutely somebody you want to target, especially the lower owned ones. As for LCK, I think we covered it pretty well with can Teddy do it again, and what will Jen do kind of deal. But overall, I mean, I feel like based on all the places we can go tonight, it's really difficult to be able to fit something like Chovy in your lineup or consider Guangdong in anything but like a $15 lineup. So it's really difficult to kind of get that going, and their ownership will be affected like that because we have so many more teams that people want to own. We have TT, LGD, JDG, FPX, RA, Gen. We have so many teams that people want to be a part of that I don't think KDF even sees the slate. I don't think
RA is going to be high owned.
I don't think so either. I think FPX is going to go with super ownership. I think
way high owned.
Yeah,
like
so
they're going to be right there with JDG because they're cheaper.
So Mbelman, who's your favorite play of the slate? All things considered, I think everybody's fade is Nongshim. We don't need to tell anybody that. But your favorite team, who are you predicting will be in my lineup when it wins everything?
TT.
Fuck. All right. Well, that sucks because I'm going to play some TT.
I could see myself playing. I think the winner of JDG AL will be optimal. So I could see myself playing both. I don't think many people at all will play TT AL, like at all, especially the amount of times I might do it.
This guy's trying to talk me into playing TT AL, and it's working. I'm going to play it.
I mean, TT JDG will be owned because you can force stack however you want. TT will be higher owned than projections say, but people don't want to play TT. They're just, I mean, the only reason that I want to play them is because they're playing LGD, who's just straight cheeks.
Let me ask you something, Nathan. Who are you living and dying by today?
It's a tough question for me to answer just because everyone that's listening / in the show is such a large part of the player pool where, like, it's tough for me to give that away.
Nathan, you know that I could care less who you're playing in the 3-3-3. It does not adjust it, but if I find you in some winner take alls, I will play and adjust it. I mean, me, you, and Cody did a great job yesterday of making sure that Big Kev was unable to solo that qualifier by, just gang piling in there and just picking on the little guy.
Nathan, if people are playing plays just because you're playing them, you're doing something right.
Whether it's playing them because I'm playing them or adjusting because of what I say, it's tough. But what I will say, I will say what I'm doing.
Becoming like the Adam Levitan of the Shark Cove here. He's like, yeah, I mean, like, it's a good play. I can't tell you what my cash line is.
No. I mean, I think that there's one LPL team that's like they come in criminally underowned. I think that it's not Anyone's Legend. Because Anyone's Legend is quickly becoming the OMG of recent, in that everyone wants to play them as a dog because they have that crazy upside, which is fair, but they are a team that becomes over-owned as opposed to under-owned as most dogs. And then ownership-wise, I think it's pretty clear that the top two ownerships are going to be like JDG, FPX, and then both sides of the TT LGD game. So
can I ask you what your team is?
What my team is?
Rare Adam.
I mean, it has to be, right? Like,
right?
The ownership has to be like just nothing on them, just because no one wants to play them.
They are coming off a win against
and look, honestly, I think the other side of that game is going to be under owned too. I think FPX. I mean, when you have these 5-game slates, and we'll talk about it because we're going. This is wrapping this up. This is the end of the LPL LCK for today. I think that when you get into that second or third favorite or the favorite in a matchup, like if you want some safety, you can go to the favorite that's not in the game that's projected to be bonkers. And that's who FPX kind of is, because, that TT, LGD, I mean, that seems like it's going to be off the hook. It's going to be off the rails. You're going to want to be doing rails while you're watching that game. It's the only way to play. And then
not know who to play there, though.
But people will pick a side.
True.
People will pick a side, or they're going to play it. Life finds a way.
Just like LNG.
So that's it. I like RA, but I'm going to play a little bit of Teddy. I'm going to have Teddy and iBoy. I'm going to make at least one lineup. I don't know if it'll make it into the 3-3-3, but I might just go all of my $5 lineups are going to be some combination of that. And I'll see you at the top. I'll see you at the bottom. Let's hop into the LEC. We have some good contests for the LEC. We've actually been super spoiled, despite all of their inability to do anything correctly when it comes to contest sizing, when it comes to just fucking posting contests in general. The DraftKings team somehow has found this niche where they've figured out that we need something on Fridays, and we've been filling it up. So we have some great contests on Friday, and it is going to get kicked off with the 12 o'clock game. We've got the Mad Lions playing XL, who seems to have been accelerating with Mickey X calling the shots. The Mad Lions, a team full of fuckers that have not been fucking. Harby, I'm going to let you kick this off and tell us where we should be looking. Is it a game of Patrick? Is it Marcoon? Do we play a little bit of Finn? Do we just want to avoid this? Mad Lions are minus 125. Excel's minus 108. Super close. Important matchup.
This is
what do you say?
Father right here.
Yeah, wild. So sorry, I'll cut in really quick. I dropped off there for a minute because we're getting these wild storms that are hitting some of the Midwest, and I lost my internet, so I'm on my phone right now. You guys are cutting in and out some, but hopefully I can hear you the rest of the time. Yeah, this game is weird, interesting. You're right. Excel has looked pretty good the past couple of weeks, really. I'm a little surprised, but I don't know. I guess the addition of Mickey X really brought them in. Mad just looks like such a struggling team. I don't know if you guys listen to any of the official kind of league content that comes out, but the Euphoria guys, I think it was Broken Blade on this week, and they were talking about the teams that may or may not make the playoffs, and he said that he thinks Mad's on the out.
Kevin's in shambles. Kevin's in shambles.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. They started off looking like they really didn't miss that much of a beat, but Reeker does not look good at all. I think a lot of this team falls back on him, on the weakness of mid lane and them not being able to execute the team fights like they're used to. And it's caused. I know it's caused our mute to not look as good at setting these things up as he normally does too. It looks like the setups are still there. Like last week, we saw him come in, so overall, I feel like this could be one of those games where they're both a little reserved. Mad knows that they need to get a win. Excel feels probably pretty confident of how they played last week. But I do want to target this a little bit. It's just probably a game that normally I would have been jamming in Mad. And now I'll just have Mad exposure, but I probably won't be like too heavy on them.
Okay.
I don't know. There's a few teams that I'm gonna be like fully still convince me. Like in LCS, it's still FlyQuest for me too. But Excel falls in that boat for me. Like I don't like Finn. I don't know. Like, is Mickey X really a solution for them? Like I know that they looked like there was a lot better shot calling these past couple weeks, but I could also see that this is just a flash in the pan. If Mad realizes that they have to get this for playoffs, then maybe they do switch up the style, just go full on team fight comp again, and bring some back of that from the beginning of this split.
Oh, my projections disaster. They all went into the captain slot for the regular ones, and so their projections are vastly under. For whatever reason, these did not go in properly. Fantasy Labs has been wonderful. Look, I don't think that this game, despite these projections being off, we can see kind of where they fall. Look, I think this game has the potential. This is one of the games that I do want to definitely target at DFS, and I think has a really high ceiling. But you're right, and you make a good point. Aside from the fact that it does get a bump because it's the first game, both of these teams really need this game, and they may play a little more reserved. I don't think anybody would be trying to tell you that they thought Reeker had played well this year, but to give him a little bit of a pass, he is playing in a league that has Larson, Humanoid, Perks. Sertus has played exceptionally better, but it's the pieces around him. So I am interested to see how he develops, and I think he will be around in summer. Moose,
Yeah.
Mad Lions Excel. Will you be up for this game? Are you playing on the slate? Are you going to be awake?
I won't be awake for this game, but I think Mad Lions win.
Okay. Mbelman, is this a game stack? Are we loading up on Excel Mad Lions? First game of the LEC slate. We know that this is often a breakable game.
I think both teams have a real high percent chance to be like the winner. I think could be one of the higher scoring teams on the slate. I also think ownership will be there for both teams. So not necessarily a game I'm looking to game stack. I think it's going to take a crazy score. I'd rather go to a game where I think it's going to be lower owned. I could see using a side from this game if one of them is much lower owned than the other, but I have no strong feelings right now either way.
All right. I think it's Mbelman. I think it's your Discord that is bleeping through. All right. I've come to understand that it's not mine. I don't look over. If you look at the start of the show, I was just constantly looking over to see if it was that. I
apologize.
It was going crazy there for a second. Nathan, Excel, Mad Lions.
Excel is one of those teams where they gain a lot of ownership always for some reason. I want to credit that to you, Emmerich, because I feel like you've been on the Excel train for a while, and so for some reason, like I listen to you, and then other people listen to you in the Discord, and then Excel just gets slammed. Like take last week. What was the first game of the week for Excel last week when they were the dog? Were they against Misfits maybe?
That was against Vitality.
Okay. There was one slate that they were a dog, that they were like a plus 150 dog, and everyone was I just slammed Excel because I was like, well, this is a game where they're just coming in under-owned, and they ended up being like almost 2 times the ownership of the favorite. And like that's just like the narrative that I hold with Excel at this point is like they just have too much ownership, especially if they're coming in a coin flip game.
But
people hate Mad Lions. People hate Mad Lions this year.
People love the Mad Lions.
You're making me like Mad more.
Like think about Gelati. Think about when we talked with Gelati about this. There's like a month-long delay where people like wait to like make these decisions, and I think we've hit that point. People are realizing like Mad Lions is like not summer 2021 Mad Lions, and they're realizing that maybe it's time to step away from just slamming Mad Lions every slate. And of course, me and Ian like just still we just love them because we're gluttons for pain. But
I mean, Kevin's here, and I will point out that there was that one slate, and I don't talk about it very often, but it was when the Mad Lions were playing BDS, and BDS just absolutely, I don't bring this up very often at all. And BDS just threw that game, and everybody had the same unforgiven fucking lineup and winner take alls and cash and GPPs. I just feel like I should bring that up because people like playing Mad. You won't really hear me mention it much, but that game was devastating to me. It scarred me.
I think though that BDS is a different story than Excel. I think that if you threw Australis against BDS, you'd still see like 4 weeks ago, you'd still see Australis gain so much ownership because BDS was thought of as the Academy no one team,
So yeah,
it
I mean,
slam me against them.
Talking about BDS and talking about the Australias, that's the next game on the slate here. And this is a game that I absolutely have a difficult time making projections for, because neither of these teams, despite where we are in the season, have enough wins for me to figure out what they are going to do in wins. And specifically, Australia's, their wins have been kind of, or win, it's kind of a weird, like you can't really extrapolate from that. Harby, shed some light on this situation here. We've got two teams that feel like one that's stuck in like second gear, and the other one that feels like it might be shifting. But is it shifting from second to third? Is it about to open up, or are we going back into park? BDS Australia's pretty close.
Yeah, weird teams, right? And weird last week too. BDS showing a little bit more of what I thought that they were going to do at the beginning. Yeah, there was this lull, like this 2 or 3 week lull where this wasn't coming true, and this is maybe kind of like what Nathan was talking about with Mad. But I really like targeting BDS games in general because something that Matt mentioned earlier with gamestacks is you kind of want to target these teams that can't close, and BDS can't close. They're good. I make that comment, and I expect a lot of pushback, but I actually think that BDS is a pretty good team. They're pretty young, and I think that they're going to become a decent to great team. Maybe not great, but a decent to good team. But they don't know how to close games, and they don't know how to keep these leads at all. They just let teams come back when they have leads, and they always open themselves up to cross map plays, and it always seems to be giving Dragon control away too. What that allows, though, is these games to kind of carry on a little bit and get more kills than they ever should. We saw this a lot last week too, and we saw this earlier when they did beat Vitality. But I feel like this could be one of those games where BDS just does what BDS is doing, and Astralis is kind of getting a little bit better. And this could be a game that sees more kills than what you may expect.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a moment to just absolutely, revel and just appreciate some of the analogies that I've been coming up with today. I think that they've been top notch. But Moose, speaking of not being able to close, I don't think I've ever told you this, but when I was 23, look, long time ago, I'm sure maybe you guys know who I'm talking about, but Tucker Max burst onto the scene. His website was hilarious. His book was hilarious. There was a story. The first story that I ever read was about him at a midget convention trying to pick up some midgets. At that point in my life, I decided that was something that I, too, wanted to accomplish. Now, there was a bar that we went to in Baltimore right outside of Owings Mills. It was actually a restaurant, but it was a bar is the closest thing. It was called Tony Roma's. It's a restaurant. Anyway. There was a midget that went there. She wore a wedding ring, so never really hit on her or anything like that. She was a very attractive girl. So we find out, one day we're smoking cigarettes, we're talking to her. We find out she just wears the ring because she's married to herself. That's what she says. I didn't question the logic. Seemed really dumb. So anyway, we were hanging out. We were having a good time that night. And, I wasn't paying it much mind. I didn't think much was going to happen. But then, we went outside, we had a cigarette, and she said, look, you're super hot, right? And at that moment, I didn't know how to act. I blew it the rest of the night. I wasn't able to close. Do you think BDS is going to be like me at that Tony Roma's back when I was 23 in Owings Mills, Maryland, and unable to take home this game? Moose, you're going to need your headphones, though. Oh, okay. Well, Mbelman, tell me. Let me jump to you first. We're going to need to unmute you. There we go. You got to unmute yourself.
There we go. Sorry, I was off the screen for a second. I don't know if I agree with Harby that BDS is a good team. I think that they're okay. I don't think any of these teams are really good, to be quite honest. I mean, compared to the LPL, it's just a bias I have. But as far as the LEC goes, I think they're mid-tier. Australis has shown signs of life. I think that, game stacking, I like it better for one game slates, of course, but there's also 5 games. So you got to keep that in mind also. It happens, no doubt about it, but I think it's just as rare, to be quite honest. Less lineups available to enter in these tournaments, so it makes it harder to get as much game stack exposure. I still throw a couple in there because it just doesn't take that much if two teams absolutely go off. And with the lack of lineups, like you don't need so many lineups to get the game stack, because if both ADCs score better than any other of the ADCs and you have a couple other positions, you're probably nutting. As far as BDS goes, I think that they're going to be way, way high owned. Australia's, I don't know, they're not like huge dogs. Why couldn't they win this game?
No,
they also
absolutely
have
could.
been right up there in kills and deaths, but in the past couple of weeks, their games have been pretty bloody.
Harby, you are the LCS god. They might call me the game stack god, but you are the LEC, god. So I will listen. You are Bible to me there. So if you're telling me to game stack it, you don't have to twist my arm. We know this.
Moose.
Well, I think this is a game to get exposure to on both sides, or pick a side that you really want to go heavy on. But where I'll be.
Fair enough.
Moose, I know your headset was off. I didn't know that. Did you hear my story, or are you going to have to go back and listen to it? It was a good story.
Confirmed.
You're muted, Moose. I can't hear you.
I'll go back and listen to it.
Oh, man. Nathan, instant reaction to my story. Mbelman just glossed right over it. Didn't say a thing. I feel like I poured my heart out to you guys there about it. Nathan, give me something back, okay?
I mean, I feel like it was expected that you wouldn't have closed there.
I didn't want to hurt your feelings even more, bro.
I know it's tough.
I feel like you all would have heard about it if I had closed
I
much
think
earlier.
you would have told us. Yeah, yes. For sure.
So how old are you right now?
38.
Yeah, I'm 37. It's a long time ago for us, bro. It's 15 years. Like no harm, no foul at this point.
Sure, absolutely.
What did I miss?
It was
something good.
You guys are old.
Something good.
Moose, I was telling the story about how I tried to take home a midget one time, but just I failed, and like the whole lead up to it and everything, it was pretty intricate. Anyway.
Oh my God, I'm glad I missed that story.
No, it's a good one. I have a lot of stories from Tony Roma, probably sloppy Saturdays. I've got a couple good ones.
Can't wait.
Vitality, SK Gaming, Moose. Tell me about this game. Perks, Alfari, Lebrov, some of Kev's favorite guys. Had some moments last week, but SK Gaming, do you think SK can win? I think they can. I like it at plus 250. I don't think they will. I think that they can. Initially, I do think that Perks is going to be one of the highest scoring players in the slate. And the reason for that, and let me tell you my reasoning, and then you can go into whatever you're going to say, is a couple weeks ago, I made the mistake and I projected Teddy. It wasn't a mistake for 700 points. That was obviously within the range of outcomes. When I was going through my projections today, I had Perks projected for 669 points because I had his kill participation at 700%. Amazing kill participation. So using that transitive property of what boosted Teddy into this winning that KDF has had, does this now bolster Vitality's playoff run? Does Perks become an absolute beast? Even though he's the most expensive, are you going to find a way to captain him in the comeback or the triumphant warrior? You're the champion in both. I
don't like the spot for Vitality. I don't like the spot for Vitality at all. SK Gaming what they've won 3 in a row now, and they actually don't look terrible. And I don't know. I think minus 350 is just the wrong line on this, personally. Yeah, they don't score very well for sure, but I don't know what kind of spot we're looking for in terms of Vitality. If Vitality win, they'll score well, I think, but this is one of those spots where it's not as sure thing as this looks like a classic LEC letdown spot, really. In my opinion, I think this looks like a really, really classic, we're expecting Vitality to perform spot, and it just doesn't feel right to me.
So let me ask you, Harby. This is a situation where people are taking time to adjust, but people still fucking love playing Vitality. They just do. I mean, you see the names. You've got Perks, you've got Selfmade, you've got Alfari, and you've got, first pick best ball Labrov. On playoff teams too. On playoff teams. So, are you sharing the same sentiments, or are you buying into the 700% kill participation Perks?
Yeah, in theory, if you just look at the names down on paper, they should smash, right? But SK has looked a lot better. SK games are just not bloody right now. Vitality games have been, so maybe there's some give back and forth. But these past few weeks have not been the SK of the first few weeks, which was the team that you wanted to be picking aside one of their games. Now it's like you want to stay away from them completely. I don't love this game. I don't know if I'll own any of it. Maybe that's wrong, but I don't know if I'll own any.
Okay. Nathan.
But couldn't you see this being like an 11-7 type win? That's what I see it.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, outside of the narrative that I am putting into my own mind and why I will play Vitality just because of that, Vitality is a team that wins fast or loses fast. They're the epitome of a 16-win team, and on a slate where I have a lot of these teams projected a little bit higher than that, I think that being the highest priced stack makes them far less attractive because you do have to find somebody, a suitable dance partner for Vitality to make them work. Nathan, do you have anything on Vitality SK Gaming?
It's like I don't have much to say just because my LEC knowledge is pretty. I mean, I know the players, but my knowledge of like who's actually good is pretty limited to like the DFS stuff, which is not really ideal when it comes to analyzing games. But this is definitely a game where I look to probably not prioritize. I'm gonna agree with Harby there, just because I think that it's like one of those games that everyone wants to play because SK has been like that team lately that people have wanted to play, and Vitality is just still name recognition Vitality. So I don't know. It's a tough spot. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with it, but I just feel like it's like a secondary or nothing sort of deal for me.
Now, Mbelman, do you share the sentiments of everybody else on the panel, or do you go the other way where you feel like everybody's trying to avoid this game, and why get cute? Why not play the favorite in the game that nobody else wants to play?
I think that that's just this panel not wanting to play this game because I think that everyone else will want to play this game. Looks like Vitality's coming in as by far the highest owned team on the slate. I'm not buying it. If I'm max entering the whatever 70 it is tomorrow, if I were doing it right now and the slate started at this moment, I would have 0 Vitality. They'll probably win. I just hope for a low scoring game. I think there's big leverage on this slate and just fading Vitality. Not even necessarily playing SK, although I don't think that's crazy because I don't care how bad they are. If they're not going to be owned in a 1-game series against the chalkiest team on the slate, like we saw it in the LCS the other day, like all you needed was a Immortal stack, a TSM stack, like literally one stack, and you were nutting. I mean, it's going to be a similar situation here with SK. I wonder how many people will actually play them, but right now they're projected to be like 3 to 1% owned. Now maybe it's 5 to 6, and that's a little bit of a difference, but that's still hella low. That's like we today. I think Vitality wins, but I mean, it's not like they're a 700 favorite. They're minus like 3. You have it pulled up there. They're minus 350. I mean, they should win the game, but it's no guarantee. I'm much more likely to have a couple SK lineups than 30% Carzy, 28% Perks, 28% Labrov, Selfmade, same thing. I mean, by far the highest owned team on the slate right now. I see Mad projected a little bit higher than XL, very close. I think that's actually going to be the opposite. So I'm more likely to go to Mad in that game. I don't care how they looked. Again, just doesn't mean anything to me for DFS purposes. But Vitality's a team I'm fading for sure.
Yeah, and outside of Fnatic, Vitality is actually my lowest projected team in a win. So not a lot there to like aside from my mess up on the projections and the prophecy being foretold. So let's go into this game. Speaking of a team that people took a long time to get off of and understand that it's not name recognition. They're not the same team. We've got Fnatic and they're playing Rogue. Rogue kind of surprised some people. Not Alan. Alan knew all along that Rogue was going to be the team. And there was I don't know if you guys saw Wooloo's article about like some of the roster moves that didn't happen but were going to happen. Malrang was in discussion to go to BDS but never made it. There were a bunch of other moves that almost happened that didn't, but Rogue has looked fantastic. Larson has been a fantasy point scoring god for Rogue. So is Comp, a team full of dudes that fuck. I mean, I think I have yeses on all of them in terms of that. I mean, Odo does it in a different way. But you just can't leave them out. What do we think here, Harby? I mean, I think Rogue rolls, and I don't want anything to do with Fnatic. I feel the same way about Fnatic that you guys feel about Vitality. I understand that there's leverage here. I just don't know if they're going to be able to realize the leverage even if they win.
I remember this game the first time around, and I had some amazing stacks and believed that this was going to be Fnatic finally ending Rogue streak, and just they got smashed. Rogue just smashed them. I don't know if Fnatic even got 5 kills in that game. Just utterly demolished by Rogue. Now Rogue struggled a little bit. Fnatic's looked a little bit better lately, but Rogue's a great team. I mean, Rogue is just a really solid team. They communicate well. They play together well. I will say, like, backtracking just a slight bit, why I'm a little bit off of that last game is all 4 of these other games, I feel like I see clear paths to either side winning, but also upside in the game in general. Like, I think all 4 of the other games are pretty close matchups, despite what odds may say, to where we could see a lot of kills. We could see a lot of dragons, turrets, things that are going to lead to a lot more points in general in a match. And this is another one. I do think that Rogue will probably win, but I think Fnatic can make this a game. And I think the winner of this game should see 20 plus kills.
Yeah, and Moose, the thing about it is, despite the fact that the median projection for Fnatic is not one that is exciting, at least in the high stakes, and in the lower and the mains, the same can be said. But in the high stakes, the single entries, the dual entries, people aren't spending, that type of lineup equity on a team like Fnatic right now, especially a team like Rogue. You're a guy that likes to do some things that other people don't do. Will you be putting a little bit of upset, a little bit of humanoid, a little bit of wonder in your lineups?
Yeah, I think they're a really good tournament play. I really like Fnatic as a tournament play. Based on what I'm seeing from Rogue recently, I really like Fnatic in this spot. That being said, if Rogue come in and just do Rogue things, then it is what it is.
Yeah, I think Rogue had a little bit of a hiccup. I do hope that they lose this game for my best ball sake. I believe I'm playing Allen, and I think that's like almost an auto win if Rogue can be defeated. So, there's that. Nathan, you are also a man that likes to play the leverage, the odds, the things that other people won't do. One's man's trash is your treasure when it comes to ownership. Will Fnatic be somebody that you highly consider? I don't want you to tell us whether you are or you aren't. I wouldn't ever ask you to put yourself out like that. But will you will you take your cursor, and when you're putting it over the one button, will you cross your fingers and hope that Fnatic comes out?
Yeah, why not? I mean, we're very biased. I mean, DFS is very biased in general, and memory bias is a huge part of it. People don't forget that Rogue smashed Fnatic last time out. And if they did forget, I guarantee you they were like, oh, these teams played before, and they looked it up, right? So they're going to see that last time these teams played, Rogue just smashed. Rogue's also just thought of as the better team right now. But reality, it's probably closer to a coin flip than people want to suggest. And one side's going to be, well, I mean, I haven't looked at pricing. It's probably pricing a little bit more pricing dependent in terms of how much more owned Rogue is. But Rogue's likely to be way more owned than Fnatic. So, like, why not, right? It's someone's got to win. It doesn't always have to be Rogue. So
That's true.
I don't know.
Bellman, how do you feel about this? I mean, I will say that if we open up ownership tomorrow after everything gets underway and we see Fnatic at like 15%, we'll know that the Shark Cove had ripples in the water that residually brought Fnatic to the top. And if you're somebody that played them, you can definitely donate to the Shark Cove. Your donations help quite a bit. But Bellman, is that a place that you want to go? I mean, it seems like the panel is in agreement that we want to go to Fnatic. I might be the only guy that's not playing it. You guys might be considering it. Tell me that I need to jump in the water with you guys, or tell me to stay on the bridge. What say you?
Well, a couple things. One, I know Harby won't play them. I know him. He will not play them. He won't get over that 20-4 loss they suffered a couple weeks ago. He already brought it up.
Yeah.
He's got big recency bias, so we know he's not playing them. That's first and foremost. Second of all, I got a little hate in the chat like 10 minutes ago. Said, I talk and talk and talk. Hey, I'm excited to be on the Shark Cove. Like I said, I make regular sports videos all day. I like talking some LOL, so I had to keep it quiet for a couple minutes, but I'm back. As far as this game goes, I love Fnatic. I think they're very, very much lower owned than Rogue. They're minus 150 favorites, and they're going to be crazy low owned. I don't know. I played them last time against Rogue. Why wouldn't I play them this time? Nothing's changed except, I think the ownership even might be more tilted towards Rogue. The only thing I will say, they're so cheap that maybe they get some ownership. We're talking about them. I only like them at low ownership. I also like the next game, so we'll talk about that shortly.
Well, you know what? I will. Go ahead. Was it Harby?
Yeah. So I have a question about that. So speaking of that last loss, do you all feel like people on the second round robin look back at those first games?
What do you mean?
Yes, I think so.
We do a little bit, but do you think the general public?
Players? Like the teams?
No.
I think players do it. The rest of the field does it considerably more than you do. And I think that they base their decisions on it considerably more than anyone on this panel does.
I don't think
you think they're clicking on that on Rogue and they're seeing like, oh man, Rogue smashed Fnatic last time.
Yeah,
Yes,
the 333, the 44, not so much.
No.
15, 5, 10, absolutely.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
The mid to lower stuff.
I see people just throwing in 1 to 5 line.
Our friend Peter probably does when he's not playing
Petey.
Astralis.
They just
Petey,
beat
the boy.
them 24. Why would they not beat them again? That's common sports novice knowledge. I mean, it's just how people think.
What's happened
that's
before
good.
will happen again, and there's nothing else that can happen in between.
Exactly.
I mean, just like LCK is just never going to be in there because they've had some 9-6 games. It just doesn't work like that.
What did the LCK what did they do for you? I know they've been winning you some cake, but how long has this love affair with the LCK been going on for you?
Like 2 weeks.
Okay, so you're all over never playing LCK before that, right?
I used to play Gen G a lot. Like I'd find.
I've been
spots
loving LCK since March of 2020.
So the biggest thing for
that
me
when you were
is
born?
like,
Yes, that was when I was born. That is correct.
the big thing is like, look, I don't necessarily always go off of like my projections or the optimizer when I'm building a lineup per se. Like I'm going to pick 2 teams and I will use that, but the building of the projections allows me to see the peripheral stats at a level in which I never paid attention to before. Like before I never looked at what's this guy's kill share. I didn't give a shit. I'm picking 2 teams, and if they win and they get the ceiling outcome, I'm going to win. That's all I need to know, and that's all anybody necessarily needs to know. You don't need to spend hours researching it, breaking down game tape. If you like doing it, go for it. If you think it gives you an edge, go for it. If you're doing this and you're playing like $30 in lineups, then like I hope you enjoy it because it's not super beneficial. Now, if you're playing 10K a day on cash slates, like you could probably say that there's a little bit more value there. But when I started breaking down the LCK and started seeing it is like, look, this makes a lot more sense. And then they've run hot recently, and I think it's kind of because of my manifestation of them. So with that, let's get into the Misfits. Let's get into G2. Misfits have looked like the second best or the best team in the LEC right now. I put a futures bet on them a couple weeks ago, and it is making me feel warm and fuzzy inside. It's like plus 2,000 or something crazy like that. They're playing G2 coming off an 0-2 week, which was Absolutely devastating for Avalanche's best ball team. Knocked them right out of there. Mbelman, let's start with you. This game, I think, is the game that cannibalizes from itself the most, but overall, the combination between these two teams are going to be the highest owned on the slate. G2 is just absurdly inexpensive. You can fit them with anything. They're super cheap. Second cheapest team on the slate.
Does that matter though? Because pricing just doesn't matter for LOL, especially on slates like this.
I meant from an ownership perspective, you can fit them with anybody. That basically is what I'm saying. Is that like there's no lineup that you can't make when it comes to G2 4 stacks, 3 stacks, 2-1-1 stacks. It doesn't matter. So they can fit with anything.
So I think they'll be owned. They're projected to be very low owned. I don't agree with that. I think they'll be medium owned, but I think Misfits will be very high owned. I think people will look at that last game like they played like shit. They still found a way to win. And I like teams coming off wins like that. I also feel like they might be sitting fat and happy a little bit. Like, oh, we just played like garbage. We still won. G2 is going to – it's G2. I don't care who they're playing. They still got some of the same guys. I think G2 wins this game. The line basically is telling you that these two teams are even right now, despite how Misfits is playing. I think Misfits gets more ownership. If G2 gets more ownership because, it's G2 and they're cheap, give me Misfits. But the ownership play to me looks like G2. I like G2 a lot. I could see myself playing some G2 Fnatic easily. And, that's two dogs, but you're looking at a minus 110 and a plus 115. I mean, it's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, imagine a G2 Fnatic combination taking down an LE Sleet. It never happened before.
Right?
That's a shocker. It's a true shocker.
It won't be owned.
No, you're absolutely right. But the problem with playing G2, and Moose, I'm going to let you elaborate on this, is that you have to play against MVP, master of fucking. We've got Vithio and his sidekick Neon. How this guy has been absolute nuts. He is one of the 100% guys in the LEC best ball playoffs. If you drafted Vithio, you're moving on. So let me ask you. Does Vithio do it again?
Yeah, I think he does. I think this is a spot. This is a great spot for him, really.
Minus 120. Minus 120 is what you're giving me on the team that's playing better than anybody else. I'm smashing the Misfits. I don't think that it's a bad play to play G2. I think G2 is a fantastic DFS play. But if you're going to give me Misfits minus 120 against a G2 team that, to me, looks like it's a step below that premium tier, they're like when it comes to cable channels, they're like the Discovery Channel. They're not basic cable. They're not, they're not the premiums. They're not HBO, but that's what Misfits are. They're like the HBO, the Showtime. Maybe you could say the G2's like Cinemax, okay? Obviously had a role in the past, but these days, everything that Cinemax could bring you in the past, you can find other places for free.
I think that there's a high chance that this game ends up being one of the two lines you need for the nut, and we have taken in the first game of the day bonus into LEC, of course, but I still think this game's gonna fuck for sure. This is gonna be a good game to watch.
Harby, what do you think? What do you think, first of all, about my wonderful analogies? Yet again, just blowing it out of the water. What do you think about this game here?
Yeah, you're rocking it tonight. I love this game. I mean, I love both sides. It would be hilarious to see a throwback G2 Fnatic lineup take everything down, but it also doesn't seem too impossible for that to take everything down. Every week it's like I look at Misfits and feel like they're overperforming, but they just have it all together. I'm not super impressed by their bot lane, but they're doing enough, and they're doing it week in and week out. But I'm also not super impressed by G2's bot lane either. G2 is just one of those teams that keeps it in. Misfits is just a bloody team. They always have been, right? They have been for a few years now. And this is no different. I mean, the past few weeks, if you look at the past 3 weeks, they're leading in kills, but they're also second or third in deaths.
This doesn't have last week's, but going into the week before, 23, 20, and 19, just absolute monsters here.
You're speaking my love language, man. I was already going to say close matchup here. Last game on the slate, which is my favorite game to game stack because if the first 4 games bust out, You never know what can
Game of
happen.
the week, right?
This is going to be a good game. Like both teams, the Misfits are coming off a really low scoring win. G2 just got embarrassed. I could see them fighting here. I will have some game stack exposure here. You can mark it down right now.
And
All
G2
right.
is going to feel like they need it. Need this. Where
They're not
they're
going
at.
out.
Yeah, not going out. So but Misfits riding high. Or riding mostly high. But yeah, so I think this becomes a pretty interesting game. And definitely, I mean, obviously we all said this, but definitely a game you want exposure to, in some way or another. A lot of the players. So VPO is just a beast, and I think he's probably MVP right now. So maybe Caps is going to want to shoot that down. Bring him back to life a little bit too.
Nathan, close us out on the LEC. Tell us who you're running in cash, your entire lineup. You can leave the team slot out if you'd like.
All right, let's see. The cash lineup is going to be self-made captain, and then let's see what else can I throw in there for fun. Self-made captain with X Matty 100%. That's the way to play the cash.
All right.
I have no idea. I mean, obviously, I haven't looked at anything. It's tomorrow morning, but I think that the Vitality BDS is probably fine. With the G2 Misfits game, I don't know. It's a classic inefficient ownership spot, but like less so than like it should be because the game definitely is like nuts. But like it's like one of those spots where like we're gonna see Misfits like all 30% owned, and then we're gonna see G2 like all low 20s.
You say that, I know you say it a lot on a lot of slates, and you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You like to say that exact phrasing, and you were definitely right last slate. And I could see it being like RNG Weibo today, but there's 5 games. I could see it eating into each other because people like playing G2, but they don't want to play against Misfits. And they like playing Misfits, but they don't like playing against G2.
Look, I don't think G2 tops 15%. I think they're more like 10 to 15. I would be like, look, if they're 20, I'm not going to be surprised, but I think they're more like a 10 to 12.
Can I take the over 15 with you?
Talking about Emmerich.
Yeah, we can do over 15.
Okay, we'll take an average of over 15. I'll do that.
Okay.
I do feel like there are times, especially on the app, where people don't look far enough down. Like I hadn't fully looked at salaries yet, and when you said G2 was some of the lowest, I was very surprised. I looked at mid, and I was like, wait, Cap is literally the second lowest. I can't believe that because I'll always start with the team slots, and I see that G2 is up, near the middle. So I just assumed that most of their salaries would be near the middle. So it's kind of wild to see their players that low.
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
And
so
I think it lowers their ownership.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move over. Let's do the final game. Let's run through this one a little bit quicker. We've gone in depth on the other ones. There's I haven't done the projections. Let's just get some instant reactions. I think we covered the LEC pretty good. Let's talk about the LCS real briefly. We're almost at 2 hours, so let's cut this. Let's start Dignitas and Cloud9. I'm going to start with you again, Harby. And Moose, where is it, Nathan? One of you guys.
I think
has
it's Nate. Nate, are you on a
dog.
respirator?
It's the dog. It's a dog breathing into his phone.
Yeah, I got you. I'm gonna mute myself.
That's what I thought. I wasn't sure if it was either your dog or Moose's cat, and I looked over and the cat was gone, so I knew it wasn't that. Yeah, no, I knew
she's passed out. So
yeah,
I got you. I got you on the mute. I got you on the mute, guys.
All right, no problem. Harby, the Dignitas, Cloud9, Dignitas kind of surprised some teams in the lock-in. They look good. They have a tendency in the past to do that. Cloud9, I think, is a different animal. I think Cloud9 is going to be fine despite everything that is surrounding them. I think Cloud9 becomes a better play than they were before, specifically Fudge, just because I think that they're going to play a little bit of a more traditional style with flares of what LS had kind of imparted, seeing that Max Waldo is a disciple of the church. Instant reaction. What do you think on this game? Is Dignitas playable more so than normal? I mean, like everybody in the LCS is playable, but
my quick. So same thing with you. Like I haven't done a ton of research on this late, But yeah, quick reaction is this is probably not a game that I'll touch too much. I agree, though. I think that C9 is going to draft a little bit more traditional. I think that we're going to see Fudge on a champion that he's going to be able to make plays with. I just think that this could also be a fairly low kill game.
Mbelman, what do you think?
I don't really know that much about the LCS. I play it because like I love LOL DFS and there's something to watch. I don't even watch. I can't believe I watched 5 LCS games last Sunday. I was like, what has my life come to? My wife is more nuts, but that's for another video for another day. Cloud9's going to roll here, in my opinion. Again, I don't know how good Dignitas is. I love teams that like came back from a game they really should have lost. Cloud9's still, I mean, I know Liquid's getting all the hype, and I think Liquid could be really good, but Cloud9's still Cloud9. I mean, they got Summit, who's probably one of, if not the best top laner with Blypo in the league. Blabber. I think they roll here. I'm surprised the line's only 190, but again, I don't know how good Dignitas is. Are they the team? They just won last week against Golden Guardians.
I think Dignitas got 0-2'd last week.
They did?
I believe.
Why is this line so small?
Cloud9 has not looked impressive.
Yeah.
I mean,
Cloud9's
minus
got some turnover issues. Cloud9 has a lot of internal issues right now.
Now, Moose, you'll be up for this game. I know that you wake up around this time or a little bit earlier than that. Hey, man, like, look, I don't hate it. I don't knock it. I take a nap every day around like 11 to 12 if I don't drink some coffee in the morning. Dignitas Cloud9. Sounds like you're on Cloud9. Is that right?
Yeah, I think if there was a more premier team here, like a Liquid or a 100 Thieves or maybe even Immortals, I would definitely look toward even EG. Even I would definitely look toward maybe FlyQuest. Even I would look at those teams. But because it's Dignitas, I just feel like this is just a Cloud9 spot, and people will be off of them because of their internal issues.
Nathan, I have a feeling, and I'm trying to do it right now, but here we go. Pricing, I think Cloud9 is going to be pretty popular, given the fact that Team Liquid and 100 Thieves are both really expensive, and it looks like Cloud9 is just a step below that. Actually, they're pretty expensive too, minus 190. I think that they'll probably not be owned that much. What do you think?
With my zero analysis of the slate so far, I haven't looked at it all. Let's
Do you even know anything
odds.
about LCS?
Yeah, I mean, I know
He knows numbers.
No, you don't.
I wrote articles last year for LCS all year, but this year I have not followed like at all. I mean, obviously, 100 Thieves, Liquid are your most owned, but they're probably super pricey. Cloud9 is a team that everyone still likes to click no matter what. But Cloud9 and EG are like the team everyone loves.
Yeah, I mean, people like to play Sven and Captain still to this day.
Last week, I was the only team that owned them in the comeback.
Really?
Yeah, 4% to 15.
Who'd they play last week?
They were minus 400 favorites.
What? Who? Cloud9?
TSM.
It was TSM that they played, and that was the weird game that they made the comeback.
They got big, and then came back and won, even though they got out-killed.
All right.
Yeah. Yep.
So let's take a different approach to this as we all kind of preface what we were saying, like, hey, I haven't done shit on this yet. Not really sharky, guys. Not really sharky. Like one person can say it, but we've all followed that. So look, here's my high-level overview, and everybody can look at it, and everybody can do Everybody can do the same thing. I think the Immortal CLG game is a super interesting one in the sense that I want part of that stack. I probably want CLG. I know that I'm a little bit more favored towards CLG than most people. Plus 120, I'm definitely going to bet it. I think Immortal sucks. I think CLG sucks too. I just like CLG more, and so I'm going to back them. I think Team Liquid will beat Golden Guardians rather quickly, but they probably will be a highly owned team. The team that I'm the most interested in, and I will be wearing their jersey every single day. I have 3. I have a jacket. I'm playing FlyQuest. I believe in Takuli, or however you say his name. Afro Moo is a G. He is fucking. We've got Jose Diodo. He's winning me over. All the besmirching I had going into it. Kumo's a G. Harby, you're playing FlyQuest, aren't you? You're playing FlyQuest.
We are. It sounds like we're going to be head to head on 2 of these matches because I lean Immortals and Evil Geniuses.
Unbelievable. Well, look, we've got the
Harby just loves the chalk. Harby loves the chalk.
Yeah,
We've got.
that is part of it. I will say CLG is a sharper play than Immortals because Immortals will be chalk.
I wouldn't lay 154 on Immortals. I'm sorry. If you're like, look, DFS aside, at no point in my life this year will I ever look at Immortals and say this team should be favored by even this much, and I would be happy to put a unit and a half down to win one. Just never going to happen. Just never, ever, ever.
Kind of like LGD tonight.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, I'm not laying that type of money on LGD. We've got the LCS reigning comeback champion too. So Harvey, I'm gonna let you finish, and then Moose, I want you to jump in and give us your LCS knowledge as the reigning LCS comeback champion. But Harvey, go ahead and finish.
Yeah, I think both of those games, and yeah, actually, I might have to actually finish because since I had to switch my phone since my internet's out, I have like 5%, so I might die at any moment.
So close it out. Give us your closing statements, and we're almost done. But go ahead.
Cool. So yeah, Immortal CLG, definitely a super interesting game. I think all 3 of those last games, so 100 Thieves, TSM, Immortal CLG, EG FlyQuest, that's probably where most of my ownership is going to be. I'm a 100 Thieves fanboy, and I think that they're starting to turn things around. So if anything, I liked seeing TSM be semi-competent in that game against Cloud9 because I think that could lead to more kills for 100 Thieves. And then, just fill in from there. So, yeah, so I probably will cut out, but thanks guys for inviting me. And I look forward to trying to finish this when I can.
All right. Fantastic. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate the insight. Put that phone on a charger and get ready to sharken the chalk. Hey, LCS comeback champion. We've got him. He's the Moose. He won it by a point. It's the LCS, man. It's the LCS. I cannot condone what we just heard from Harvey. I know he knows that he likes the league, but playing the chalk in the LCS feels like negative EV long term.
Yeah, guys, the LCS is the worst league, the worst league of them all. You can really play anything. It's like 1 in 7 LPL teams, but you get to watch 5 best-of-1 matches.
So, I was asking Gelati the other day, like, who's better, like OMG or Cloud9?
Yeah, I mean the answer is OMG. It's not even close. I feel like.
Yeah,
really?
Honestly, I think yes over Cloud9. I would say that.
What would the line be?
Not crazy. It'd be like probably like minus like 140 to 180 in that range.
OMG favored?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
This year for sure.
Dude, Cloud9 is not a good team right now.
You have to think
last year Cloud9 versus this year OMG would probably be a little bit closer to a coin flip with like minus 120, minus 110 or something like that.
What about like last one? What about like LGD versus CLG?
LGD.
Well, okay, so LGD versus Cloud9. Cloud9 would be favored or coin flip. LGD versus CLG would be like minus 800 LGD.
So look, you have to think that the player base in China is 10 times higher or 10 times larger than in the US.
Yeah, I was talking to Lonnie about this earlier.
Yeah, so it's not even close. Now, if you're looking at a team in the West that I think that does have the pieces to compete and make a run at World, I think this Team Liquid team in its full force is one that has that. I mean, like, look, you don't like. I guess you can look at Santorin and say that he's not necessarily like an LPL jungler quality, but like you don't need to be. Like you don't want your entire team to be carries. I think the problem that you run into with Team Liquid is that like this is like a team that I think is very good, but none of them are like super hyper carriers except for Hansama. They are super supportive players, but as a unit, as a collective, they're very, very good. But in the LCS itself, I'm excited about this FlyQuest team. So Moose, are we playing FlyQuest?
We're playing Chad Quest. They changed their name to Chad Quest.
Chad Quest, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'll play them in the highest tournament that day if Nate mutes his mic. Yeah.
And look, here's the thing: despite FlyQuest, despite their recent success, their runs, they're looking like they're having fun. They have the unity together. Like it just feels good. I feel happy watching them win because they look happy. People are still on this evil geniuses kick, and we crowned them too early. They're a young team. They need to come together. They haven't yet. And JoJo is they're going to live and die by this, young players' mistakes or by his outplays. But you don't know which side it's going to be. I love FlyQuest at plus 150. Mbelman, give me what you think on this slate. Who?
So we've disagreed a lot on this show, man. I mean, you're all LCK. I'm anti-LCK usually. FlyQuest is my squad, dude. I don't know much about LPL, but I got big biases on 2 players in the world, really. And they're random, and it just is what it is. One is Zika for DRX now. But that was my dude when he was with BLG, when he first started out with Vici. I play him every chance I get. He sucks now, but I love him. The second is Jose Diodo. He's a boss. And I'm not even talking about random dudes like Parang who have won me big GPPs for other leagues. But Jose Diodo is that dude. So I always play Fly whenever I can. I'm worried, though, because the last 2 slates, they have been unowned. And EG has been chalk and lost. So I'm worried about a chalky dog here. And if that's the case, I want EG because all I play is ownership, man. Like, I don't care who the teams are. I want to play FlyQuest. But if EG is less owned than Fly, I'll play EG.
No, man. I think EG is still going to command ownership. What do you think, Nathan?
Yeah, I don't see a situation where FlyQuest gains more ownership than EG.
Or even is chalky to a point where you have to consider it. I just
okay. Then I'll love Fly then.
Yeah, I think that
they're my favorite team on the slate. They're playing great. I mean, they just beat 100. I know people were like they're not that good. They might be real good.
Yeah, you're gonna see like CLG and Dignitas be like the dogs he will like to play tomorrow, with like FlyQuest taking like a significant 3rd place with ownership.
I was real impressed with Fly too. And again, I don't know nothing, but you guys have talked about this a bunch. When losing teams get down, they like when underdogs get down, they don't usually like fight back. So it's usually like a snowball, and the scores aren't that crazy. Fly was an underdog last night against a good 100 team and came back from like a big deficit and just looked like the better team. They knew what they were doing. I think they have a lot of momentum right now. On paper, I think that they're the better team.
Yeah, they are playing better right now. I like the comparison that Spell made here based off of your love of Zika, your love of Jose Diodo. He's comparing that to Guggs and Guggs' absolute love of Barrel and Ghost. Like,
He's sitting on Guggs. I will say his takes are sometimes worthy of being shit.
Look, Guggs. If Guggs put his all of his betting heart into DFS, you can hear him talk about line movement and different things, and be like, "Is this the same guy that's one-offing White Knight?" It just doesn't make sense.
For me, I feel like a lot of people, especially in Discord, but that just is what it is. They never learn that just because you're thinking something doesn't mean you have to say it. But again, we're old heads now. We're 37, 38, so I get it. Nathan's a young cat. He has no filter. It is what it is.
Absolutely. Nathan, why don't you close us out here with your thoughts on LCS, if you have any additional thoughts.
My dogs are going crazy if you're talking to me right now.
Okay.
For some reason, she just started barking like crazy. But I can talk. I mean, like, I think it's a pretty clear. She's
She
hopping right in here. She doesn't
give
agree
her
with any of my takes.
Give her team.
My takes are bad, but
all right. Okay, cool.
So she doesn't agree with them.
Moose, do you have anything else that you want to say?
Dignitas Sharks.
Dignitas Sharks, I like it. Okay, so hey, I want to thank everybody for coming on. It's a great show. It's a lot to cover. It's 2 hours. Mbelman, thank you for coming on. Thanks for sharing the knowledge. If you want to go ahead and plug your website, go right ahead and say anything that you want to say in closing.
Yeah, man. Me and my partner started a website about 5 years ago called DFS 5 Pack. We've got about 10,000 YouTube subscribers. I have a website. Check it out if you want. I've definitely been plugging in the Sharp Cove the past few days. That's where my DFS 5-pack logo comes from. It's just not just some random logo. And yeah, man, I'm really enjoying coming on here. Hopefully I didn't talk too much and you'll invite me on again.
Yeah, absolutely. Moose, any closing thoughts?
I love tonight's slate. I love tomorrow's slate. I love the esports department. I like banking stuff. I love Nate's takes, and I love game stacks, and when they win, because it's like a beautiful art form, just like hitting, And yeah, I look forward to our Friday edition as well.
I feel like you asked all of us who our favorite teams was, except for the hottest guy on the show, Moose. Who are you playing in LPL tomorrow with your one team?
JDG. I'm very chalky tonight because they have such a high kill per win that it's just hard to avoid them.
Yeah, and you can go Kanavi and be different with that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hope just fucks. So it's like
everybody on that team. Everybody on the team has a chance to smash, dude. It's like a fraternity, dude. It's like a frat party.
100%.
All right, Nathan. Anything that you want to plug, say, mention?
I got nothing to mention or plug. I don't think.
Did you watch the other day? I don't think that you did, but I had my friend on, and instead of showing us his phone, he actually had it on a notepad, a piece of paper, what he was going to play, and he showed the camera. Did you catch that?
No, I didn't. That sounds like some Ian shit though.
Absolutely. So go back and watch that. Moose, go back around 1 minute or 1 hour and 10. That's when we're talking about BDS, the lead in. Watch that part. Maybe somebody give me a clip. I think it's a good story. We can put it out there. I might have some explaining to do in a little bit here. But hey, for everybody in the Shark Cove, it's been fantastic. Come see us tomorrow. It's the Hangout stream. We've got Sloppy Saturday coming up. Will we be sloppy? I don't know. Is it going to be Sloppy Joe's? Is it going to be hamburgers? I have no idea. But tomorrow we will hang out. We will have Gugs. We will wear shirts, and we will have fun. But hey, good luck, everybody, tonight. Thank you for watching. If you're not subbed, go sub on the YouTube. We got to 100. Let's get up to 200 now. Thank you.